Whoa. Better? Well, my last farewells to these places always seem to take a while. Every time you look out, the light has changed, or the arrangement of the islands, or whatever it is you're taking leave of, has changed, and you want to have another look at it. It's looking amazingly beautiful and atmospheric at the moment. But I wonder what it's like here in the depths of winter, where of course where we're sailing will all be pack ice and probably covered in prowling polar bears. Well, this really is our last farewell now. To Svalbard. Into these lonely islands. And the strange rock here, light coloured, light brownish rock, different from the other islands, that stands as the last sentinel facing out into the polar sea. Behind it, its other fellow islands huddled together somewhat protectively against the ice that must surround them most of the time. Quite extraordinary place, and quite extraordinary feeling to be here. But we must move on. I must get a little bit more sleep, and then maybe tomorrow or the day after we can catch up with what I have in mind for the rest of this voyage. Where are we? Crikey. There we are. Right, we've got another little milestone coming up today. Just one of those days, they just keep coming and coming. We are very, very close to reaching 81 degrees north. The first, of course, for Mingming II, and the first for me. Our only viable tack at the moment is the starboard tack that we're on, which is pushing us to the north to 81, but that's fine, because my intention is to sail east as near to 81 north as I can for the next few days. But we have to mark the moment when we get here. Getting very close, getting very excited about this. I still haven't got the horn pumped up. Here we go, ready for our countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, no 8, 7, 6, 5, Oh, 6 gone back the other way. Oh, we're going south. Oh dear. Oh no. Joe, there we go. Boom. Yay! 81 north. Fantastic. Beep beep. Well done, Mingming. Mingming II. She's now beaten her previous highest latitude by 2 degrees. Which is not bad. That's 120 miles. In fact, as we get further east, we're going to arrive at a point 120 miles north of where she got to 79 north in 2014. But there we are, 81 degrees, another little milestone to celebrate. Right, well, it's now the morning of Thursday the 26th of July, or 25th day at sea, and now I can, now that I've had a bit of a rest, can explain what the next stage of this voyage is. If we look there, that's the Sjöna Islands, the islands we came round yesterday, and in which we were lucky enough to get in reasonably close, in reasonably good conditions, and at least get some video and photographs and stuff of, because that is never guaranteed, particularly in this part of the world where there's lots of thick weather and fog. However, Svalbard itself is not really the main object of this voyage. We will probably be coming back to other parts of Svalbard, but in fact it just made sense from a navigation point of view to kind of get a ride on the North Atlantic Current, the Gulf Stream, right up the west side of Svalbard, round the, so I need to use my, it's so difficult filming on these charts, coming up and then round the top of Svalbard. But the idea actually, or our real target, is not Svalbard at all. It's much further to the east. We keep going pretty much due east, across the east. Oh, and here we go. We found some more land, and it is Zemlya Franza Josefa, Franz Joseph land. 191 islands, pretty much set between 80 degrees north and 82.30 north. And this really is where we're heading. So what we're doing, we're having come round the north of Svalbard, we're now just north of 81. Where are we? 81 there. We're just north of the 81 line of latitude, and I'm going to try and follow that that line as best I can, just due east. Obviously I won't be able to do it with total precision, but that's the basic idea, for 2 reasons. Firstly, because that will bring us into the Victoria Sea, and I'll talk about that in a minute, and it'll bring us into the water to the north of Franz Joseph Land. But also at 81 north, what I reckon is I'm going to have the least problem with ice, because I know that the pack ice is at least another 90 miles to the north, so reasonably out of the way there. The other danger from ice is from ice from calving glaciers on the big glaciers on Svalbard, and later on the glaciers on Franz Joseph Land breaking off and coming up to the north, which is what they tend to do. So I figured by coming across at 81, that will put me kind of midway between the ice in the north and the threat of ice floes coming up from the south. Whether that will hold out or not remains to be seen. However, why the hell do I want to go to Franz Josef Land? Well, what started it really was on this same chart, which I used for my last voyage to the islands of eastern Svalbard, and I came across this on the chart, Victoria Havet, and the Norwegians call a sea a havet. But this is the Victoria Sea, and in fact its full name is really the Queen of Victoria Sea, and I'd never heard of it before. And I collect obscure seas, and as soon as I saw that, my imagination was piqued, and I conceived the notion of sailing in the Victoria Sea. And not many people will have done that, because generally speaking it's a totally icebound bit of water. So I want to sail across into the Victoria Sea, then we'll see how we get on. It should bring me to this island here, which is Arthur Island, Artura Island, or thereabouts. And then I'll decide whether I then want to turn to the southwest again and effectively approach Franz Josef Land from the north, which would amuse me, or whether I've still got the time and the conditions and the confidence to carry on it to the north east, up the islands, because if we come here, this is the most northerly island in the Franz Josef group, and it's called Rudolf Island, and there's a cape at the north of that called Cape Fliegeli, where my finger is pointing. It's almost in 82 degrees north. Yeah, sorry, I said these islands, yeah, they're between 80 and 82, so it's almost 82 degrees north. And I would dearly love to get to Cape Fliegeli. It is the most northerly point in Eurasia, in Europe and Asia combined. The only most northerly land, or more northerly land than this, is north of Canada, Ellesmere Island and thereabouts. But at the moment, all I'm doing is sailing due east. It's going to be quite a long sail. It's about 250 miles across here from where I am now to Arthur Island. And see what happens. The idea then, having sailed in the Victoria Sea and done whatever I feel I can do, is then to come back down to the southwest and come back past the islands that I was aiming for 4 years ago. Victoria Island, which is the most westerly in the Franz Josef group, and Kvitoya, White Island, which is the most easterly in Svalbard. I'd dearly love to sail between those two, and then carry on south or southwest, and where would that bring us to? But Konkorsland, which is where we were 4 years ago, and it's right where my finger is, by the island of Abeloya on Konkorsland. That was our most northerly point at exactly 79 degrees north 4 years ago. So we'd be approaching our most northerly point of our 2014 voyage, way from the north, and again that would give me a great deal of pleasure and rather childish amusement. So anyway, we'll see how we get on. That's the state of play at the moment.